Welcome to Chapter 173 of The Flower of Freedom by Deborah J. Reeves. All rights to both the book and presentation are reserved. Just a heads up, there are 10 more chapters to go in this book, The Flower of Freedom. It is the first book of a trilogy. The next book is called Weeds in the Garden of Freedom. We hope that you will give us a thumbs up and subscribe to continue our journey toward a virtuous cycle. The algorithm apparently will present it to more people who might choose to participate that way. You can sow into our lives, and we'd appreciate it. Here we go, Chapter 173, Investigations. The local police officer addressed Dr. Vanier. We truly need to piece that night together. We have 3 dead men in a town that seldom sees anything more serious than a pickpocketing. We have 2 people who are in comas. We have the most important hotel in town full of traumatized people and staff, and we do not really understand what happened. Can we speak with young Monsieur Saint Laurent now? Normally, my answer would be absolutely not. But after what I just witnessed in there, I cannot come up with the grounds to refuse you. I'd like to be in there, though. You must promise on your own mother's life that the second I give you the signal to stop, you will stop immediately. His recovery to this point is almost illogical, so it's impossible to predict whether or not he'll crash again if you're not careful. I warn you that he's full of questions that I'm unable to answer. Together they entered the room. Bertie sat in his blue-striped hospital gown under the covers, smiling at them. Before anyone could say anything, Bertie said, "Hey, Jean-Claude, did you bring me any food? I'm starving." That brought out a laugh from Jean-Claude, who shrugged, but Dr. Gupta said, "I'll see what we can do, Bertie. Soft food?" he said to Dr. Vanier. "Start with ginger ale and a jello cup," he responded. "Make that 4 of each. I really am starving to death," Bertie yelped. The local police officer introduced Detective Sergeant Richard, but Bertie had known Detective Sergeant Richard's son, Rocket, for years. They nodded to one another, and Richard stepped forward and asked if he was ready to tell them about the incident. Bertie was serious then. "I'd just gone for a walk because I had things to think about. I was out for about an hour, I guess, and I think I bumped into the guy who attacked Philippe. I apologized and I kept going. If I had known what he was up to, I'd have cleaned his clock. What do the doctors call it? Yeah, prophylactically, that's it. Anyway, I realized that I was late, so I rushed back to the hotel. Philippe was paying for the carriage driver, and I told him that I had to go upstairs to get Bianca. When I came back down, the carriage was no longer in front of the doors. It had been moved. It was under the entrance arch. I walked over to let Philippe and Marie know that Bianca would be another couple of minutes, and as I got close, I heard the noise of a scuffle. That guy with the blue ski jacket pulled Philippe right out of the carriage. Philippe wouldn't hurt a fly, so I knew the guy was a creep. As I approached, I watched the guy give Philippe a vicious jab to each of his kidneys like a dirty trained boxer. He didn't wait, but he spun Philippe around and he delivered 2 more punches to his rib cage. I lost it then. I went at the guy and I tackled him to the ground. The horse started to dance around our heads, so I pulled the bastard out by the feet from under the horse's hooves and onto the snow. I jumped on top of him and I started trying to punch his lights out. But he started talking such bullshit that he threw me off my stroke. Then I heard Bianca behind me screaming. I couldn't understand what she said either. It sounded like Hans. I was distracted, and then I felt him twist like a gymnast and placed his place his feet against my chest. He gave a mighty shove, and that's the last thing I remember but being airborne. There was silence in the room. Dr. Vanier was the first to speak. You do not remember anything else because your head struck the stone wall, and you've been unconscious for 2 days. 2 days? Yes, surely they told you the risks about another head injury, as it represented to you after your experience in Switzerland. Why did you allow it to happen? I've seen people who died with less damage to their skull than yours has endured. Well, sputtered Bertie, he was attacking Philippe. What would you have done? Sergeant Richard felt that the interview was deteriorating, so he tried to reestablish control by asking, so how did your sister get injured, Bertie? What? Where's Marie? Papa said she was in the hospital. Are you saying that the bastard hurt her too? Where's Marie? Where's Philippe? The volume of his voice was escalating. Dr. Gupta came back into the room with a nurse carrying a tray of jello cups and ginger ale. He turned and he took the tray from the nurse and quietly said, "Get me a syringe and a sedative." At the same time, Dr. Vanier stepped between the police officers and Bertie. "I'm pulling the plug right now. Get out before his blood pressure goes through the roof and he has a stroke." They did not have to be told twice. As they left, Bertie yelled, "Papa! Ma! Where's Marie? Where's Philippe?" And then when he saw the syringe, he yelled even louder. Colette and Oscar ran from Marie's room and down the corridor as soon as they heard Bertie's yell. Jean-Claude and Detective Sergeant Richard had just emerged into the corridor looking guilty. Detective Sergeant Richard looked devastated. He turned to Jean-Claude and he said, "No one told me that he didn't know that his sister was injured. Why didn't someone tell me that?" "Well, I don't know, Richard. Perhaps he thought that you might use tact if you knew that his best friend had been murdered." Then, turning to Oscar and Colette, Jean-Claude whispered, "I'm so sorry. The doctors are with him now." Bertie fought the sedative. He kept yelling for his parents. As they slid into his room at a run, Bertie said, "Papa, I thought you meant Marie had gone for coffee or something. Where is she? Where's Philippe? Is Philippe all right?" That's the end of chapter 173. We hope that you'll come back for the next chapter, which is called Memories of Times That Never Were. And we hope you'll remember to give us a thumbs up and to subscribe so that others can participate in starting a virtuous cycle. Please and thank you. We appreciate your being here. I remain your friend, Deborah. Bye-bye.